I was at a funeral, a tangi, a couple of years ago, and it was at one of my good friends. It was his father had passed away, and I spent a few days in the kitchen because, what else do you do? And so I was in there, and I happened to be with one of the fire that was making fried bread. Like this beautiful mixture. It's just dropped into the oil, and then like the heavens rise up out of it. And there's these beautiful golden morsels come up and out. And then we go like the flour, one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. And 15 kgs later, we served everyone else. Fried bread, at literally any event you go to, it just goes like that, eh? It's like fried bread. We had a rugby league game once, and I was with a friend of mine, and I had all this food on the plate. It was the aftermatch, and I looked at a friend, and he just had 2 plates full of fried bread. I was like, bro, you going to have anything with that? And he's like, nah, just this. I was like, power to you, man. Power to you. Warm, fresh bread at any event, it just goes. I'm going to start be eating clean, carb-free. Bread comes out, screw that, Hey, that's what happens. Fresh bread in the morning anywhere, and it's like, oh man, like, I'll go to the gym later, I promise. I was at a really dark season of my life, and I went to Burger Fuel. I really like Burger Fuel. It makes me feel like I'm a classier version of McDonald's when I'm there. I'm a little bit elite. Not so much, but a little bit. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to be healthy. And I created I made a really bad decision. And I got a lettuce bun. And, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And I got this bun, and it was like a burger stir fry. It just wasn't yum. And yeah, I felt healthy, but not in my hoe water. Like, not holistically. I was really frustrated, and a flipping heck, it was the same price, and what a waste. And bread is the satisfaction of that burger, right? That is the thing that makes it, all those things they add to it. But without the bread, what have you really got? You just got a big patty. There's something about bread that is so alluring. And I want to talk to this about, because Jesus calls himself Te Taro o Te Ora, the bread of life. What is it about the place of bread in the history of Scripture and the history of Israel, which is so important? Bread was like the fuel for the vehicle. It was the sustenance, the thing that filled up, the thing that propelled forward, the thing that gave them a sense of, I have enough for the next season, I have enough for the next journey. So, like, bread was really all that they had. This is before, it was considered an essential food, and now it's like the thing that destroys our bodies. But anyway, Jesus says that he's the bread of life, and he's suggesting that he is the fuel. And we need to take a moment to think about this. If he's asking us to follow him, then what is it about the bread that we have to engage with as the church? Right before Jesus dies, he breaks the bread and he says, "This is my body broken for you." Jesus says that he is the bread. The bread becomes the metaphor, the transmission of his story to us. And if he called us to live as he lived, then what does that mean for us? See, traditionally, in traditional churches, a priest would choose a loaf of bread, would bless that bread, would say good things about it, would break that bread, and then would give that bread. There is a metaphor of the life that God has called us to lead, which lies right within that narrative. And so that's where we're going this morning. So, chosen, blessed, broken, given. Jesus was chosen by God to be sent into the world. God blessed Jesus. "You are my beloved Son, with you I am well pleased." God handed his Son over to his suffering, and he accepts suffering underneath the blessing. His body was broken in order to be given to the world as food. This is the gospel story that we have been invited into. If we don't understand how we are chosen, how we are blessed, and how God permits our brokenness in order to be given, we will be forever lying above the surface instead of diving into the depths of the gospel story, which was meant to be kai for the world, which was meant to feed everyone around us. So, one way to understand chosenness is to remember rejection. Right? Really simple way, just parallel it. Now, my older brother was like that saying, jack of all trades, master of none? My brother was jack of all trades, master of all of them, in my imagination, right? He never studied and got in the top streams at school. The top sporting events was the prefect and the head this and the blah, blah, blah. I'm not bitter. And so my school that I went to, Palmerston North Boys High, they had a grading system which was great for everyone's ego. And you went streams 1 to 7. Now, if you beyond streams 1 to 7, then there were no more numbers. Then it was mixed abilities, which is not actually mixed abilities, it's just the lowest abilities. And then developmental, which means we don't know what to do, right? So I take this test. Now, to my credit, I forgot to do the last page, guys, all right? So I end up in this class first day, and I'm like, oh, sir, what stream is this? Like, I want to know my number. I'm a little bit competitive. And he just wouldn't answer me. And I was like, just tell me the flipping stream, man. And we get to the end, and he's like, you are in mixed abilities. And I was like, I'm numberless. I didn't make it. Not. Yeah. It still burdens me to this day. So I'm in this class, and I'm thinking, I'm dumb. That's the conclusion I draw, right? I'm dumb. Right throughout school, I felt like I could do lots of things, but never quite enough to be in the elite. Right, so I tried to audition, sing to get into this group, and I remember these boys being there just cracking up laughing at me because they were just like, you're rubbish, bro. Do not sing ever again. And the teacher was like, yeah, maybe this isn't like an avenue that you want to go down. And so, wow, that worked out right. And so I had these really vivid experiences of not feeling like I was quite good enough, right? So I'm 20 years old, fast forward. I'm sitting in a church and I'm playing a guitar, and one of New Zealand's premier music producers comes past and he says, hey, I'm going to record your voice one day because it's powerful. And in an instant, all of the rejection was replaced by my sense of chosenness, right? You have something, I see you, I choose you. Let's do something with that. One moment is all it took to reverse the tide. Now, I had to accept that there were some things at school that as much as I wanted to win the high jump, it was never going to happen, right? As much as I wanted to play center for the basketball team, it was never going to happen. That's all right. However, there is something about understanding our chosenness which then permits us to understand our blessedness, who we have been called to be and what God says about us. If we claim our chosenness, we will become who we have been called to be. John 15 says, you did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give it to you. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. When we say we are chosen of God, it does not mean that there are others that are more chosen. I sometimes feel problematic about words like there's a massive call of God on your life. What does that mean for other people? That there's a less massive call, like mostly massive, but not that massive call? Some of our language is problematic, right? When you understand your chosenness, you are able to see everyone else's, right? You are able to see people in the image of God that they were called to be in. And this is huge because some of you in this place will have very few stories, particularly in your upbringing, of hearing your parents affirm you and say, I chose you, I see you, I look at you. And that will have been seeping out into your life because you have not understood your chosenness. You've understood in your head that it's good, that God likes me, loves me, but you've not understood how much he chooses you. I've often told this story. God doesn't need you, he wants you. It's a lie. He needs you. Right? He needs you. If someone stole my child and rang up and said, hey, look, I've got your child. She's a really cute kid, by the way. And then says, you don't need this kid. You just want her. Right? I would be like, I will kill you. I will bury you and everyone you know. I need that child because that child occupies a place in my heart that only she can occupy. The same is true for God the Father. If we believe that He only wants us, that means that we think that we're disposable. Like He can get another version of you, another option, another try. You are not disposable and there is not another option for you, right? You occupy a space in God's heart that only you can fill. So when you spend time with the Father, it's filling His cup. It's blessing Him. He's going, man, this is awesome. I long for connection with you. I long for this space with you. It's beautiful to me. It means something to me. To be chosen means to be seen in your uniqueness, special in God's eyes. You are not one of many. To be blessed. To bless someone is to say good things about someone. Many people don't feel blessed and don't live blessed, often because they don't by their parents, right? Okay? So without a parental blessing, we often live cursed. This is the truth. So a good friend of mine, he's a prophet, he was in America. He'd done what Pastor Luca did and was praying for about 40 million hours. And right near the end, a huge man walks down the aisle and he's like shaking like this. And he's like, oh, here we go. He's already manifesting. Anyway, so he gets up and he's standing there, and my friend, he starts praying for him, and he hears God say, stand behind him and wrap your arms around him. A little bit uncomfortable. Hey, that's stranger danger a little bit, you know. Anyway, so then he's standing like this huge guy, and then the guy starts shaking, and then he's like shaking like this, so he's holding on the back, going, I don't want to be here, let me go. Anyway, so he starts shaking, then he lurches forward, the guy lurches forward, so now he's on top, bouncing on top of this guy. The guy then hits the floor, and his arms are jammed underneath him, and he's still bouncing like this. So he's just like, oh man, I'm in the South, they're going to lynch me, you know. And so he's there, and then God says, kiss him on the back of the neck. And he looks down at his neck, and there's these streams of glory coming down his neck. And he kisses him on the back of the neck, and then pulls his arms out, and he runs as fast as he can out of that place. And he's in a restaurant later, and he hears this guy say, you should hear what God did with me tonight, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so my friend, he goes over and he says, what did God do? Because really, that was the most uncomfortable experience of my life, and I need to know that if God was going that or not, or if I'm way off and I need to go and fast for 400 days. So he says, I'm Jewish. When I became a Christian, my father rejected me and would not pass on his blessing, his inheritance. And in my tradition, the way that you would pass on inheritance from a father to a son was to kiss them on the back of the neck. Nailed it. Filth. But in an instant, he went from cursed to blessed. And if you don't understand what God says about you, you will live as cursed, as never measuring up, as not quite being enough. Because you don't have a middle ground option. You are either blessed or you're cursed. You don't have a in the middle, nothing doing, we're all good right here. You're one or the other. And you will live out of that framework for the entirety of your life. I was lying in bed singing with my daughter the other night. And every now and then I have these really special moments with my kids. And we were singing and just connecting, and it was one of those times when, you know, you're just looking at your kid and they're looking at you, and it feels like a heavenly space. And my little girl, she stops at one point, she's 3 now, just turned 3 a couple of weeks ago. She puts her hands on my face. She says, Papa, I love you. Gives me a big kiss. And then says, can I have a cuddle? And I was like, no. I'm a man. We don't do that around here. No, I delighted to embrace my little girl. I was blessed by her. Her calling of my name, her identification of her longing, her desire, to embrace me, to see me and to make me feel like in that space that I mattered to her deeply. And I'm the dad, I'm supposed to do that for her. In that picture, my little girl showed me something about the Father heart of God. And I'd just love the band to come up, actually, in this space. I'm going to be honest, this is something I'm still learning about, the Father heart of God. And I'm so overjoyed that Pastor Luca is here as well. Because whether he talks about it or not, he's received a revelation for it which gives life. Now, as a young man, I sometimes get stuck in the tension of function and abiding, right? I do, because I can, right? I can do all of these things until I can't. And God is asking us to abide so that he can tell us how we are chosen, so that he can tell us how we are blessed. Now, this is profoundly important for the life that you're going to live. I really mean this. They can feel like really simple stories and really simple ideas within this. But if you have any desire to live in wholeness and in fullness, then you've got to understand how God chose you, specifically you, how you alone occupy a place in his heart, and how God blessed you. And he says, just like the heavens opened for Jesus, this is my son who I'm well pleased. Jesus mirrors the life that we're called to live. Therefore, the relationship with the Father is also mirrored. Therefore, the approval of the Father is also mirrored. Therefore, the Father, his heavens open, and he says, this is my daughter. This is my son. With you, I am well pleased. There's this word in Te Reo Māori, and it's koira. Say koira. It means fear. Do you know what it also means? It means the place where the clouds break and the skies part. What if, because of our lack of understanding around how God's chosen us, how God has blessed us, we actually live in fear of the one who longs to be close to us? Because if we ever get too close, he might really see. And when he really sees, he will surely have permission to reject. In the middle of that fear, the clouds break. This is my son, through whom I'm well pleased. This is my daughter, with you I'm well pleased. I choose you. I choose